I sort of feel I may have gone on a little bit too much about the possibly nasty side of moving to the country. I may have painted some towns being a bit nastier than they actually are in my what you need to know before going country videos. And I looked at my analytics, and actually there have been some of the videos that have been viewed almost completely to the end. That's one of the highest ones in that regard. So I sort of thought I misrepresented things a little bit, so I'm going to make another one based on that. Now, you know, there are towns, I'm not going to lie to you, there are towns where things get a little bit crazy. There's a particular town, you know, that my uncle was in for about 6 months in the 1970s. My parents have since been there, and it's still the same as it was in the 70s, where, you know, they're out in the desert and they're a little bit too isolated, and there's actually immigrants from 45 different countries living in the one town, which can cause a bit of cultural clashes and religious clashes a little bit. And, you know, it's a mining town, so sometimes there's things of very high value, and the odd person decides they're going to nick someone's stuff that might be of high value. And there's people that get dumped down mines and have it blown over the top of them. There's also late night fire bombings on occasion, shootings as well. My uncle told me about a couple of those. So yeah, and it's just generally stupid shit sometimes going down with guns, like, yeah. But anyway, these towns do exist, particularly more in the outback and that. But I think to sort of paint every town as that, it was a misrepresentation. So I'm going to give just a quick rundown on some of the things you need to know when moving in the country. And, you know, that is basically you're changing into a different area with a very different culture. Number of things. Stuff that you may consider rubbish or of not much value. Some people may have a lot of value on it. So be careful if you ever go throwing out something of somebody else's without asking them first, did you want those corrugated iron roof sheets? Because you may say, oh, they're worthless, and put them in scrap metal, and he'll be really, really pissed because they were going to use that to build a shed to put their tractor in. You know, and other things which you may not value, other people will, such as collapsed trees. Around here, I've seen some collapsed trees disappear. Like, these have been ones that have the big branches cracked off near the road, not on the road, but just beside the road. 2.5 hours later, it's completely gone. There's just a big heap of sawdust on the ground. You know, there's things that, you know, mightn't be valued in the city, but are considered valued here, such as firewood, and, you know, are open slather when you find it. There's other things where your dog may get you into more trouble than you could ever imagine. If your dog kills somebody's sheep, stirs up someone's cows, attacks a calf, whatever, do not be surprised if it gets the shit blown out of it, because that's, you know, that's general policy around here. If someone's sheep gets attacked, the dog is fair game, shoot to kill, get rid of it. And you may say, oh, well, I'm going to sue the person that does that. Look, people I've seen it with people coming in here. You know, they've only been here 6 months. Next thing, they're waving around legal threats to their neighbours. They're pushing and shoving around families that have been here for more than 170 years. And, you know, and stirring up the pot with all these threats. And look, you've got to realise some of these people are literally history in the development of this town or the town you're going into. Respect that. Respect them as people. Don't start brandying around big, you know, carry-ons about how you've got the right to do this. And if you're going to sit there quoting laws and rights and all this, don't even bother coming out here. Don't bother telling people who are cutting down a dead tree that they're environmental terrorists. I've also heard of that one happening. So, just sort of take a bit of a note of where you may be in the order of peck, because these places are small, and you're not truly welcomed as part of the place until 15 years. Even 10 years, you still may be considered a bit of an outsider. You may be sort of welcomed in, but only after 15 years are you truly considered a part of the place. Because there's so many people that come in, tell everybody how it is and what they've got to do, and 6 months, 2 years later, they're gone. And while some people mightn't bite back at you if you are like this, it's not because they agree with you, it's just because they're waiting for you to realise how expensive it is to run your car and move on. Go back to the city, basically. And, you also got to realise that in these small towns there may be a sheriff and a mayor get together, and if they decide something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And, you may think that if your dog's shot, that you should be entitled to some compensation. You go to the local cop and he'll say, none of my business, animal business. That's the ranger. Go to the ranger and you'll say, I want him sued, we've got to do something about the fact he killed my dog. After that dog has killed someone's calf, killed a number of sheep, the ranger, if you say that to him, he'll just look at you and go, you're a blooming dickhead. And some of the cops in that will literally almost say, word for word, you need mental help. I've heard somebody be told that by a local cop. They may just about straight out almost say the words, you're a dickhead to you. If you want to sue somebody because your dog has killed $5,000 worth of sheep and you want compensation because they shot your dog. Don't be terribly surprised if the local law doesn't follow through with what the city laws are, with what your rights are in the city. Because there's a certain way that it runs out here, and the cops don't run to the letter of the law, they run to the culture of the place. They run to the way things are generally expected as general policy with the way it works in the country. And that cop will say, nothing to do with me, or he might say, you're delusional. You might go to the ranger, and the ranger will say, what do you bloody well expect, you stupid bastard? He might literally just about say the words like that too. But, realise that pushing and shoving as a newcomer is no good in any place, particularly not the country. We had a company turn up here who stated that, they had the legal right to build this big bloody monstrosity of a thing, and, this and that and da-da-da-da-da, and they were going to, and they were allowed to because it was in their rights. And they'd come from the city, and, they had a consultation meeting, and it was almost, revolt stage, and then the bastard come out with that. And about 3 weeks later, and this is my own town I'm talking about here, about 3 weeks later, he was sitting down watching a bit of TV after he'd eaten. It was like 7 PM at night or something. And thump, bullet come through the window and punched into the wall a couple of metres away from him. And that was basically a warning. You want to start pushing and shoving here, buddy, that bullet won't be in the wall. Next time it'll be flipping somewhere else. So don't bother pushing and shoving us around. And, if that's the case, country people will bite back. Don't necessarily expect the cops ever really, don't just assume they're going to stop vigilante behaviour, because a lot of cops literally just stand there and let it play out in the country, especially in the outback, because they realise that they're outnumbered as one person. And the town's opinion rules before police opinion rules, and some of them realise this. And so when there's something vigilante-wise happens, and you go run to the cop, he'll literally, and he knows all the town's business because it's a small town. He'll literally say, well, you shouldn't have friggin' done that, you stupid bastard, and he'll walk off. And you'll go, but he should have done, the cop should have charged him or whatever. I know people where the cop has just literally said, I know they try to do that to you, but I'm not going to charge them. Full stop. You know, and that sort of thing happens. You know, so the cops do not stop vigilante behaviour. They do realise the culture and the run of the place, and they just let it flow, and they go with it. On top of that, some of them, they can't really back it up because it's not legal to necessarily back it up, but they may come around if you're rocking the boat too hard and tell you, look buddy, you've got to lay back because somebody is going to do something to you. And then you might say to the cop, yeah, but I can just come to you, then can't I? And they'll say, yeah, well, I can't necessarily make some excuse which basically says, no, you can't come to him if they get back at you because of something that you've done, you know, to somebody or to the town in general by building something, by doing something, by letting your dog attack someone's sheep or whatever. So, you know, don't sort of just always assume that the law is going to be the way it is in the city, and the culture isn't that. You know, there's different values of things, and you know there may be an existing order of peck, and just keep your ear to the ground with all this sort of baby steps, and you'll be fine. And these people are great; they're fantastic. They can be the friendliest people in the world. And a lot of what I'm saying here, I think, not 100%, but you know, it might be 80% true with the Appalachians as well. There may be some things that are more the case, or maybe some things that are less the case, because I'm talking on behalf of Australian country here. But, you know, they can be brilliant, these people. They'll tell you stuff about foraging, you know, plants and that. They can. Some of these people are brilliant at identifying plants, at identifying birds and stuff. Gardening, animal raising, they're absolutely brilliant at it. And, you know, even, you know, wildlife things they can tell you about. They're a great source of info for fixing vehicles. You'll be surprised that you may turn up to some mechanics and they won't sit there telling you need a million things replaced and then try and charge all this money for it. They may literally just tell you, oh look, I don't have time, but you can do this, that, and that, and you can fix it, and yes, you'll be nice enough, sort of thing. And then they'll just have a quick look at the job you've done, stick under the torch over there, and then they'll pass your roadworthy for you, or whatever. They sort of, you'll be shocked at how mechanics just literally stand there and tell you what part you've got to fix and how you've got to fix it without trying to rip you off. You'll be surprised by it with the country mechanics. But yeah, you know, there's some brilliant people out here, you know, and they're very friendly and stuff like that. But, you know, you can make an ass of yourself so easily. So just, you know, take it easy and don't, for the love of God, start quoting laws and quoting rights that you've got to push and shove other people around. Because you may find the person that you're pushing and shoving around is the brother of the cop and the brother-in-law of the local mayor. And then when you try and go, well, I'm going to go to higher powers, and you know, you ring someone else and they go, you're where? I've never heard of that town. Oh, you know, refer it to the local cop, and you're saying, yeah, but the local cop's corrupt. Oh, you can't go saying that about it. You know, what I'm saying is, you may find you don't have a leg to stand on if you start pushing people around. I mean, you may have to leave town. And there's been cases in this country where they've literally ran people out of the town with guns. Now, I'm not saying that's all towns, but I'm saying don't piss people off. And you'll get on fine, and you'll have a brilliant life, and you'll look back in 15 years' time, and you'll be a welcome part of the community, you know, and you will actually feel that you're part of the community, and they will tell you that you're part of the community. Not just sort of, you know, there's sort of a bit of a, well, we're not going to tell the full story to them because they're going to leave in Flame in another year and a half anyway, you know. So yeah, that's one that I thought I'd better sort of set you a bit straight on as opposed to tell you all the scare stories.